And we are now live. We've clicked record, y'all. We are back. It
Yes,
is
ma'am.
now the last Monday of May. We've been running mental wellness Mondays with Lola Jones. This is video 3. We were in the green room and we were
Yeah.
throwing up the threes like this is video 3. So we're so glad that y'all came back. It's Delilah.
Absolutely.
This is Delilah's Downloads. We're
Yeah.
in May. We're talking mental health.
Yes.
We have the fabulous Lola Jones with us. If you have not seen the other 2 videos, you should. They do a
Most
few
definitely.
things for you.
Yes,
One,
indeed.
they help you understand who Lola is. So you
Yes.
want to definitely see the video to do that. And 2, just to run back really quickly, first video helped us understand about capacity, creating capacity for ourselves,
Yep.
removing labels, mindfulness.
Yeah.
The second video helped us just understand some amazing study and analysis that has gone on
Yeah.
early childhood, kind of childhood ACEs. I'll call it ACEs. Well, I'll say ACEs because that's what professionals like Lola Jones call it. Around ACEs and reflecting and taking inventory and stock of life. And all that. It's just so rich and good. Again, I understand, Lola, why you could not talk about all of this in the time you had the big brunch. And I'm so appreciative that you're back. Thank you for coming back.
Absolutely.
I'm ready for video 3. You say whatever you want to say to the people. I'm sitting back like the people just waiting. So thank you for being here again, Lola.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I appreciate, you just taking the time and setting the stage, up for this is, mental health, again, it's something that is so near and dear to my heart. And I know, that it impacts every single person, right, that is alive. So, just being able to destigmatize the information and creating a platform for that, so I really, truly, honestly appreciate, the work that you're doing. And just empowering other women, to be able to, talk about the things that God has said, hey, this is your purpose. Let's get it.
This is your domain. Who you waiting on?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. So life, when you talk about big things, giving women platforms, I think about people in general, but definitely got a Jones for women. And what God has called me to focus in on. And I think about all the things that women have gone on in their lives.
Man, it's so much, you think about the life of a woman, right? And women have so many different labels that, they carry, which that not all of them are bad, right?
No.
We can be a mom, right? We can be the Uber driver, right?
We can.
We can be the chef.
Yes,
right?
we can.
We can also be the consoler,
Yeah.
right? We can be, the lunch maker of all the things. I mean, there's so many different labels that we carry. And I had a friend, whenever I had my first daughter, the one thing she told me, and I didn't understand it at the time. Now I get it.
Sure.
She's like, Lola, she was like, you're becoming a mom, which it's a beautiful thing, but don't forget you're so many other things other than just a mom. And I was like, huh. And at the time, I was a soccer player at that time as well. And I was like, so I'm a soccer player. And I was like, but what else am I? And then it dawned on me as I got older, like I'm so much more than just a mom. That's it's an amazing role that I absolutely love, right? But I'm so many more other things. And I think as women, we get lost in that and we forget, right? Because we find ourselves just kind of in mundane routine, do this right here, structured types of lifestyles. We lose some of that within us, and it can be a challenge because then, we get to a point where we're like, I'm tired. I'm done. I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's really what I wanted to talk about today. Like, how do you know when you have gotten to that point, and then what do you do? Gotten to that point.
Oh yeah, you're really about to help some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, we're all trying to figure it out, and we're all trying to. some of us are trying, and some of us unfortunately have not even started to try to give ourselves some grace and peace for not like checking every box and crossing every T.
Man,
Yeah, so I know this
absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Cause you think about all the boxes that we got to check, especially for the list makers, right? We don't check off that list, man. It's a struggle.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm not good. All of a sudden, I'm not good because I couldn't get to the thing that was silly in the first place of thinking I was going to do these 100 things. Like, because I could only do 98. Now I'm horrible. Like, help us, Lola. Help us,
Lola. we all do it, right? We all put so much pressure on ourselves to be able to meet a certain standard.
Yeah.
No, and a lot of times
self-imposed.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, it is self-imposed. 100%. It's not even up to, and a lot of things aren't even up to us to be the ones to identify the solution or to check the box. It's not up to us. It's not. I have a quick visual I want to share with you guys. We're going to talk a little bit more about burnout today. You know, and is for me, you know, I'm a mom. You know, my daughter, my oldest one especially, you know, she plays all the sports, you know. So when I tell you there's one weekend we may be in College Station, another weekend we'll be in Houston, another weekend will be, you know, in Timbuktu. Like, it's real. It is very real. And that's just one piece, right, of who I am and what I do. And so, you know, when we think about burnout, you know, first I wanted to give y'all this visual here because, you know, I like how it shows it's something that's gradual. Right. It doesn't, you don't just wake up and you're like, oh, I'm burnt out, I'm done. Right. It's something that happens over a period of time. And just like the different matches here, it shows, you know, what it's like when you're just, you know, a little bit burnt out, but then you also are looking at a match where it's completely burnt out. It has no use. Right. You may even try and pick it up and it may just like be ashes all in your hand.
Fall apart. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, burnout, it's a form of exhaustion that's caused by constantly feeling swamped, right? Like you're always feeling like, I can't seem to catch a breath. I am always treading water. My head is barely above the water, or I'm like a gas tank that's just running on fumes all the time.
Yeah.
And that's simply caused by when we have too much emotional, physical, or mental fatigue for too long. And that impacts us within the capacity that we have to be able to support people. Right back to all looping it back again is what we've been talking about, how we show up into the different spaces that we go to. Yeah. And then it also impacts our thought process, right? Like, what are the things that we're thinking about? When we're burnt out, it's hard to think about taking on one more thing or doing one more thing because
hard to impossible. Yes.
I can't. Yeah.
I cannot.
And so recognizing in yourself, right? We talked about capacity in the first video. We talked about reflection, right? And we talked about how are you then able to identify that? What does that look like for you? Because it looks different for everybody, right? There's a concept, you know, in the mental health world that we talked about, your responses to different scenarios, right? Okay. Some of us are fighters, and then some of us flight, right? Like,
yes.
Hey, gone. You ain't gonna find us, right? But some of us fight so much to the point of where now we're exhausted, right? And so you think about like, well, which one is the most beneficial, right?
Yeah.
You now have to really identify what's the scenario and which one is causing you that will provide the most appropriate response to it. Because when you're burnt out, you don't have the ability to do either one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not doing anything.
Absolutely. And that is a dangerous place to be. You know, you really think about, you know, with even in your profession, right? Mm-hmm. You may get to a point where you're in your profession and you're like, you know, I'm not only waking up and going to this place dreading this, but now it's having an impact on me physically.
That part.
And you're like, you start to have actual physical reactions, right?
Yeah.
And you may not even recognize it at first because you're just like, oh, it's just work, it's stressing me out. Well, what is it really that's going on? And are you burnt out, or do you just need to take a break?
Right.
Do you just
are there okay, so Lola, I got 2 questions.
Yes.
Is there how do I know when it's a break or burnout? And I'll write these down in case we forget one of them. Then the second question is, are there early indications, interim indications, and then holy moly indication of burnout? Is there a difference between need a break and burnout? And then what are the indications of burnout?
Yeah, so definitely there are there's a difference between needing a break and burnout. Okay. So needing a break, look, you can look at it from the concept of like you're at work and they give you an hour break, right? And that hour break is utilized for you to be able to step away, but then you can also step right back in and pick up like you never left, right? So getting back into the routine of things, it doesn't take that long, right?
Wow. Okay.
Burnout.
And that sounds like it's important for the people who try to work through their break to take a break.
100%. And I'm guilty of it too.
I'm ministering to myself.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
There's value in taking the break.
It's so needed because a lot of times we don't even recognize the change in scenery can have an impact on how we're then able to be productive within that.
Okay,
right?
So when we get back into the flow of things quickly, that's a break.
That's a break.
Okay.
Burnout, now we're talking about how we're starting to now experience life in itself. Okay. Wow. So it's a little bit more challenging to see the cup is half full versus it being half empty, right? How we then are going about, and you can even tell in the language that you're using, right? Because you start saying things like, I always, or I can never, I can never seem
that
to
absolute language, that absolute language.
100%. It's more permanent, right? Whereas the word, when you say like yet, right? You haven't gotten there yet.
Yes.
Haven't completed that yet. It's more hopeful.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so definitely there's a difference between the two. And it has a lot to do with even perception, you know, and how you're able to perceive.
And we talked about in the last video, getting perspective from community. And so being able to even bring that in to really level set, what am I experiencing?
Absolutely.
Do I need a break or am I at burnout? Community can help me with that too.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And I'm sorry, I can't remember if I answered your second question.
Yeah, indications of burnout, and I think you have. And even though I see the gradual burn of the match, and there may be an indication 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, overall, yes, you have answered the question. Like, I know I'm in burnout based on what's physically happening to me, how easily I can get back to task or not get back to task, and just how what's happening is impacting my overall life.
Absolutely.
Versus the task or whatever I have at hand.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, it can easily even be, you know, you're not taking, you're not taking care of yourself as you should, right? Because you hear a lot in the mental health world about self-care, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Taking care of yourself, it's important. You got to do this, you got to do that, right? But then you also think about, well, if I'm at this stage of where I'm burnt out, and now you're asking me to do one more thing I don't have the capacity to do, then why would I even bother taking that thing on too, right?
Right.
So now we got to talk about, well, now how do we identify and then maintain so that moving forward, before we get to this stage of burnout, we have strategies that we have in place to be able to make sure that we're avoiding it, or we see that we're getting towards that place, how do I put a stop to it? Right?
Yeah.
Instead of just letting that tire keep on rolling down the hill, we need to go ahead and make sure that we do what we need to do to stop it and be proactive rather than being reactive.
Yeah, before it gets all the way down the hill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is a real deal. It's we take on so much, and if we, I see it all kind of like weaving together. The three videos of understanding capacity, what helps create capacity, and how we help create that in others. This reflection just on how is life going and what is going on in life, and then get here with this cautionary conversation around burnout and things to look for. Like mindfulness, and going back to the first video, mindfulness, like it all comes together. Like in order to have mental wellness, for me, just thinking about me in this moment, I have to create these spaces and times to think about what I'm thinking about, and take stock of that, see how it's impacting my life, and then start to make decisions based on what I'm capturing in my thoughts, so I'm not at burnout. And I'm able to do what God has asked me to do.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you added that piece in and doing what God has asked you to do, because if we are, if we are in a state of where we're functioning in burnout, because some of us are functional burnout people, like that's
I can see it.
Thing, it's a real thing. And so then we also think about, well, if I'm burnt out, I'm also, my physical body is susceptible to colds, to different sicknesses and illnesses, right? So then now, how are we able to actually fully do the work that God has ordained and purposed us for if we're not well?
Yeah.
If we are not well,
we can't
do the work.
I would argue that we can't.
We can't do the work. It's a struggle, right?
Yeah.
So now we got to really think about, when we talk about wellness, right? It's so diverse. There's so many different dimensions of wellness. It's not just about getting up and going outside and doing a 30-minute workout and that's it.
Yeah.
There's so much more. There's physical, there's spiritual, there's environmental, there's relational, right?
You taught us that with the multi-dimensions of wellness.
Yeah. And so if we're not well, we can't impact the kingdom of God that we have been purposed and ordained to do. It's a challenge to go and make disciples if you're laid out on the couch because you need some Theraflu all the time.
Yeah. That's real.
Yeah.
That's so real. And so, it could it could look like this. I think it's a Holy Spirit moment. It could look like self-care, but this is actually community care. The more I care for me, the more I'm able to go out here and make disciples of all the nations, as God has ordained us to do.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Lord. And it's so important, when you say community, it's so important to have those people next to you, that can say, they can check you, because if you don't have that person that can check you, it's easy to just be that functional burnout, right?
Sure.
And when they check you, it's really, how are you? Oh, I'm good. No. How are you? And sometimes my response, honestly, is that's a loaded question. I don't know if
I'm not okay today. I'm okay with telling people I'm not okay today.
Yeah. And that is okay. That's
and
okay.
Most times, because we've normalized, oh, how am I? I'm well. How are you? Or we can get religious. I'm blessed and highly favored. Whatever the answer is, they don't be ready for. Oh, I'm not doing okay today, and they're like, oh, well, what do I do? You don't have to do anything.
No,
you just ask me a question. If I want to do something, I'll ask. But I'm not okay today.
Yeah. There was a video that I watched at one point in time where, it's people that are walking by each other on the street, right? Mm-hmm. And you walk by somebody, and you may even do this, you may even notice this and experience this at work, right? You walk by somebody and you're like, hey, how you doing? And before they can even respond, right? You
moved on.
You gone. And that person's like,
I thought you wanted to know how I was doing.
And so you think about when you ask that question to people, you know, a lot of times you may say, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah.
And they may not even respond back because they're not used. We're like so conditioned to just say, I'm good and keep it moving.
We got
Right?
to take better care of one another.
Take better care of one another. It's needed.
It's
Needed.
It's so needed.
It's so
Hey
needed.
Lola, this has been a blast. Been a
Yes,
blast. It's
girl.
been fun, but it's been very, very insightful and helpful.
Mm.
I know we're working on it. Because I know we're working on it because what I want to ask is, well, where can the people find you? What is your website and what is your social handle?
Yeah.
And I know you're prioritizing life right now,
Yes,
and
for
that's
sure.
not that right now.
For sure.
But I appreciate you extending your gift here to the people where they can find you, at least here.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know we're going to be on the lookout for questions should people have them.
Absolutely.
But kind of like the last couple videos, what would you leave for the people, but also understanding that this is the last in the series of Mental Health Mondays with Lola Jones. If there's anything just in more general you would want to leave for the people, just leaving you with the last few minutes here.
Yeah. I would say, taking time to take care of yourself is so important, because you can't be the version that God needs you to be if you don't even know what that version is. That impacts your function, that impacts so much more than you may recognize. And so, taking time to disconnect, to unplug, to get your cup refilled is so, so important. And it's not selfish. It is not selfish at all, because if I don't have what it is that you may need, then I'm doing a disservice to you in that aspect of being who God has called me to be for you. Right. And if it's because I'm not well, then I really need to just look at the priorities and how I'm showing up in our relationship. So I would just encourage, everyone that's watching, if that means, you reach out to a mental health professional to get a different perspective, to get some clinical perspective, do it. By all means, do it, because your health is so important. I had a very dear close friend of mine that was going through some significant health issues, and I was going through something more personal, and she said, but at least you have your health. And when she said that to me, it resonated in the sense of me understanding I do have my health, and I do have the authority over making sure that I'm healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I really took a different perspective and looking at that, now I have a better understanding of what health really means. And I have the power, I have the strength, and I have the ability to make better, healthier choices. So then I can then support other people and do the work that I was called to do. And every single person here that's watching, you're all called to do something very specific for the kingdom of God. And you also have a very specific assignment that will only be fulfilled by you. And so taking that and making sure that you're connecting with God in the space that He is working, and you're healthy in that space, it's going to change everything for you. And so I just hope that, we look at our mental health in a factor of understanding our physical health is there. We have resources to be able to help us with that. Our mental health is there. Something we have resources to be able to help support us in that as well, just as with our emotional health as well.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Lola, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for having been at the big brunch. And I didn't even mention, thank you for last year being a speaker at the big retreat.
Oh, man.
Lola is a man, and a family member of all things, Delilah Bartlett and Delilah's Downloads. I'm so grateful for you. I can't wait to hear. I know there will be breakthrough on the other side of what you've shared over the
Amen.
month of May. And I'm excited, and I have anticipation on hearing how this shows up in the lives of people, not just
Amen.
women, people in
Yes.
general.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
appreciate you for setting this time aside and, just giving this opportunity just for us to be able to open up and connect. I love it.
that's
Absolutely
it.
love
That's it. Thanks again, Lola. I'm hoping maybe one day we'll see you in the future back here on Delilah's Downloads, helping us get our mind game together.
it.
But
Yeah.
for now, we'll say farewell and thanks again.
Absolutely. I'm here for it. I appreciate you, girl.
All right, gang. See y'all later.
Bye.